Please welcome two T&G consultants whose careers have been oddly in sync since day one. They met at onboarding, they got promoted to senior consultants at the same time independently, and on different paths arrived at today's topic. Strangely, they have never done a project together until now on this stage. Meet Dr. Dennis Schulz, who proves that physicists make the most fascinating consultants. And I say that without envy, being a mathematician myself. Get this, a Science Slam champion and former TV host, we're now happy to have him on our innovation hacking team, where he's built AI showcases, fine-tuned embeddings, and mined data in all the right places. His partner in data crime, Gregor Ziegeltrum, an AI specialist who builds agentic systems and trains, fine-tunes, and benchmarks large language models. Not only that, he also teaches Python best practices and loves the quirky corners of the language. And going back to his TU Munich days, he was already poking at GDPR data long before it was cool. Now, get ready to laugh, cringe, and question every online decision that you have ever made as they reconstruct their digital lives live on stage. Please give it up for Dr. Dennis Schulz and Gregor Ziegeltrum.
Hi, thanks for coming. It's super nice to see so many people here to present this project that honestly had some of the most annoying work I've ever done for anything, because we did try to download our entire life to find out what companies really know about us. That's literally the title of the talk. And what does that mean? Well, we asked hundreds of companies for any data that they have about us. We basically went into our password manager and went company by company, read through hundreds and hundreds of privacy statements, which, as you can imagine, is not the most exciting work. You write hundreds of emails, you receive so many emails back. But at the end, in total, we had around 1.65 gigabytes for me and 3 gigabytes for Gregor, of which a substantial part are text files, not images. Over 6,000 files per person. And I mean, this is what we would like to present to you. We really try to go into it. We really try to reconstruct what happened in our lives. But maybe to start it off, how about a short live demo?
Yeah, sure. So one data set I was particularly interested was the data set that company Hinge has about me. Some of you are already laughing. Hinge is a dating app, and it's part of the Match Group. Match Group is the biggest company developing dating apps. They also develop Tinder, but Hinge works a little different. So on Tinder, probably all of you know Tinder, you can either swipe right or left, depending if you like the person or not. On Hinge, you have a profile, like you have a Facebook profile, for example, and then you can see in your feed, you see profiles of other people, and then you can, for example, post pictures there, or little snippets of sound, or little quotes, and then if you like a picture, for example, then you can press the like button, like you can do it on Facebook, or if you want to, you can also add a comment, for example, such a nice, lovely black sweater, or something like this. And you then can request the data of Hinge, and you get like big chunks of JSON files. And I wondered, can an AI agent somehow solve this for me? Can an AI agent answer questions about my Hinge data? And that's what the live demo is about. So we will start a prompt. We will prompt Claude Sonnet. And Claude Sonnet will look into the folder Hinge data. So this will be the prompt. It will look at the folder Hinge data. I'll have a file called matches.json in there, and this is the most important file, let's say. It contains all the messages I've sent, all the likes I've sent to other people, and all the likes I've received, and if I rejected or accepted that likes. However, it does not contain the data, so the messages I've received from other people because they are considered their private data, not mine. And then I will ask the agent some research questions. So first, I want to find out what are my activity patterns. So at which time of day do I write the most messages, for example, or at which time of day do I send the most likes? Secondly, I want to know what is my match rate or my engagement rate. So among my sent likes, how many result in actual matches in the end? And I'm also interested in if adding a comment actually helps or not. Like, is it more productive to add comments, or should I just like stop talking and just like something? And I also posted some other research questions, but I think you get the point. Then I tell the agent it should write some Python scripts, analyze the data with it, create plots, which extracts the information, somehow presents it, and in the end, generate a Markdown report. And that's what we will now do. So this is my cursor set to Sonnet 4.6, and I will now start the agent, and we will look into the result later on in the talk.
Yep. In the meantime, let's reiterate what we will try to do today, except finding out about how successful Gregor is in dating. We all have heard this sentence that the internet never forgets. We've heard it hundreds of times throughout our youth. And today we would like to investigate what that actually means. We also want to talk about, what comes out of this, what are possible implications. And then at the end, let's just try to reconstruct an entire random day from our data, from all the data that we have. That's the plan. I think the talk would not be complete without quickly talking about the legislation that underrules all of this, which is the General Data Protection Regulations of the EU, or in German it's the DSGVO, which has these 5 rights, among others. And the most important ones of these are the right of access, of course, which allows you to send requests, and then companies have to answer them. And then there's a separate right that is called the right of data portability, right here at the bottom. This right of data portability means that companies have to send you the data in a form that you can actually use it. Let's see if everyone does that. There's other stuff that, of course, you can have data corrected, erased, and deleted if you want it, and you can object to the use of your data. So what do you have to do to get your data? Some companies do it so well. This, for example, is Spotify, a video of the entire process. I'm sorry, I'll start that again. Nope, video is done. It is an 11-second video. So as soon as you have found their data privacy portal, you have to tick some boxes, click on send me this data, you will get an email that you have to confirm, and then you get your email, then you get your data within 5 to 30 days. Google has Google Takeout, which is similar, but because they have so many services, if you can't read it, it's 81 services. You can select what you want, you can deselect what you want, you click on, how often do you want your export, do you want it as a zip, you want the file size, you can select the file size, you create the export. You can even tell Google to send you monthly reports or half-yearly reports or stuff like that, and then you get your data nicely packaged regularly.
Thanks, Google.
Yeah, thanks, Google. Cool. Other companies maybe weren't that great. I mean, I don't know. This is DHL, for example, who did send a CSV, but they did copy it into a PDF and then send the PDF. This is yours, right? This is
Urban Sports.
Urban Sports.
And they also sent me a screenshot of an Excel file, paste it into a PDF, and then they use some black marker to mark some column I'm not allowed to see.
And I mean, if you are like beyond the 3rd row in this room, you will be like, why didn't you zoom in closer? This is so hard to read. This is full resolution. Just, Other companies did write, sorry for the inconvenience, we currently don't have an option to provide a full export of all user data, which is, of course, illegal. So we did report this to the Datenschutzbehörde of Baden-Württemberg. Let's see, I have not heard back. I don't know, let's see what happens. But let's stay with the companies that are happy to provide some data. Let's go through some basic data sets. What do we have? Let's start with Ryanair. They have exactly what you think they have. An address, your name, that one flight that you booked a few years ago. Let's continue.
26 euros, quite cheap, right?
Yeah, thank you. The Thomann musical shop for online gear, which I realized have spent a lot of money on, who basically know when they have sent you an invoice and when they sent out the stuff, and for some reason they know how many kilometers and hours it takes to drive to the headquarters. You know, probably, I don't know, customer service or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe you want to pick up your grand piano or something like that.
And then, by far the most interesting data set out of all of them, oh wow, a lot of light, is my health insurance, of which this is everything I'm happy to show. It is literally the most sensitive data that you can get. You can also check it via the electronic Gesundheitsakte. If you only request one data set, request this one. It's super interesting. It's so interesting. Also, there's a nose fracture in that data set that I do not remember having. So, yeah. Okay. This is, you know, this is what you expect to get. You really used YouTube, right?
Yes, I did. So the dataset I was most interested about was my YouTube dataset, because I'm using YouTube since I'm like in 5th grade. This is back in 2008, and that was the first time I've heard about YouTube. There were those funny videos on there. I really loved it, and since then I'm basically using YouTube. I do not have a Netflix subscription. I do not have HBO Max, but I have YouTube Premium, and I'm really interested, can you somehow track how my interest changes over time? Because the YouTube videos I watch somewhat represent my interest. So can I somehow track this? So am I the same person as I was when I was 14 years old? Is it maybe a little bit embarrassing? We will see. First, let's take a close look into which data I actually got. And I got 2 data sets which are most interesting, I would say. One is the comments I've wrote. It contains an ID, it contains the video ID, under which video you posted a comment, it contains the text you posted and the timestamp. And the second data set is the watch history. So all the videos I've watched when I was logged into this YouTube channel. So the title of the video ID, the channel name, channel URL, and as well the timestamp. For the comments, the first question I was asking myself is, what was the oldest comment which I wrote on this YouTube channel? Turns out it was back in 2012. I was 14 and a half years old back then. Unfortunately, the video is no longer available, so I don't know which video it was. However, I wrote, I love it when people argue over trivial things. Okay, whatever. Then the
next
bit
passive-aggressive, I have to say.
A little. I was a little edgy teenager, maybe.
Sure.
And the next question I asked myself is, okay, what is the oldest comment I've wrote on a video which is still available? And I was still 14 and a half years old. It was back in 2012 as well. It was under the video Battle Boy Basti versus Weekend Rückrunde 2 Finale VBT Splash Edition. If this does not ring a bell, it's a German battle rap competition. It was a really, really big thing back in 2012. And I wrote, you are shit, and since you won't find it out anyway, my IP is 127.0.0.1. And this already shows 3 things about me. I had really great humor when I was 14. I'm somewhat interested in computer science since a long time, and I like German rap. Cool. Okay, next question, and it's getting better now. That was the most cringe part. What was the newest comment I've written? And this was back in 2023. And I just said thank you. So I got nicer over time. You can also plot the comments then over time, and what you see is like this graph showing each quarter from 2012 to 2023. And you see when I was younger, I was way more engaging on YouTube, and over time I didn't engage at all. And the last time I engaged on YouTube in the comment section was like 3 years ago. It's not cool anymore. Now let's take a look into the watch history. This contained 45,000 entries for me since 2014. And this is a lot of data. And I was really, the question I wanted to answer is, can I somehow track my interest changes over time? And turns out, yes, you can. You have the so-called Google YouTube Data API, and with this you can request additional information for videos via ID. So I enriched all my watch history via this API, gave them all the IDs, and then I got back video categories for the videos I've watched. And then what you can do is you can track the most watched categories from me. So this is are the most watched categories for me. And you can track to which share I watched videos in this category in a particular year. So this is the year 2025, and in the year 2025, 24.2% of videos I watched were from the category music, and 4.1% of videos I watched were of the category gaming. And down here you have a slider so you can select different years. And if I go back to the year 2018, you see then the graph changing. And let's focus on this gaming thing. So when I was younger and then still in high school until 2016, I was gaming a lot. And then with end of high school, I stopped gaming. However, then COVID hit. And I started gaming again because I needed to stay inside. And 2020, it got even worse. I played even more video games. And then 2021, even more video games. And like this sums up with my actual interest. I thought about it, and yes, I was more interested in video games during that time, and I watched more videos about video games because I was playing them. And then a switch happened in my life. 2022, I started at TNG Technology Consulting, and one thing I like during programming is listening to techno sets on YouTube. And you can also see this in the data. You see the amount of music is like 12%, and now I start working at TNG. And I started to listen to a lot of techno music, and it's getting even better. 2023, I was really into techno, so clubs were opened again. I was really, really into techno, and I was watching so many techno music sets. It even goes off the scale, so you need to scale up to really see the difference. Yeah. And it turns out, yes, you can track your interest over time, and this is really cool. And you can see so many different things, and you could also, for example, add the length of the video to the start as well. So this is just one-click results in the percentage, but you can also, of course, add the video length, for example. And now, if you combine all this data and give this data to an AI, because that's what you do today, you can ask the AI, can you do a profile of me? Can you profile me? And yes, the AI can profile me, and it's quite accurate. Yes, I am German. Yes, I am in my late 20s. Yes, I have a computer science background. I'm somewhat liberal progressive, and I'm a German native speaker, and so on. So the profile which comes out if you give this data to an AI is quite accurate. And this is a little bit, it's not surprising, but a little bit worrying, I would say. Dennis, you were not the YouTube guy, and you did not write that many YouTube comments, but you wrote a lot of Facebook messages, didn't you?
Seemingly, yeah, I did. Just to illustrate my Facebook journey, this is my entire data set, and this is every timestamp in any file as a histogram, starting at 2007 on the very left and going all the way to end of last year. So if you see in this histogram that you have a high bar, that means there's a lot of dates from this particular time span. What of this is Facebook? The stuff that is blue now. So you can see that I had an intense Facebook phase from 2011 till around 2017, and then there is still some Facebook data that is collected right now about me. And indeed, of my 1.65 gigabytes, about 500 megabytes are from Facebook. Let's look into that data, because there can't be anything that's embarrassing, right? I mean, that's just 15 years ago. So let's start with one single file out of this whole data set. This is a file that is called Advertisers Who Target You. And for me, this is a 270 items long list that summarizes which companies, groups of people at some point decided that I am a good advertising target. And just to, point this out, this is a single file out of 500 megabytes. This is, a few kilobytes. Because Gregor did this thing of characterizing himself, I just gave this list of advertisers to OpenAI and said, please make a profile about me. And again, this is all 100% correct. I am a live music and concert goer. My location is Europe. Okay, that's a little vague. I am discovery oriented. I like science, and I am likely to buy scene-affirming products from independent brands, which sounds very pretentious if you read it, but unfortunately, it is correct. Okay, cool. So this one file is already a pretty good characterization. Now, there is also this thing that there is this file that is called recently viewed events. But in this particular case, recently does extend to the beginning of me using Facebook, which is 2014. For example, this is every single event that you have looked at on Facebook. If you opened an event on Facebook, this is still in the data set. This is thousands of entries for me. In this table, I just showed everything that is in January 2014, so 12 years ago, which is also a crazy amount of data to have. And then, I'm very sorry to say that all your Facebook messages that you ever wrote still exist. And you do get them in clear text in the data set, which is 91,000 messages for me, or 716,000 words, which is about a Bible. And that was kind of sobering for me. And then I looked into it and was like, I don't know, can you read anything out of it? And then I was kind of surprised to find that of these 760,000 words, 1,235 of them were Dennis, which is my own name, which has a very easy reason. I used to write Facebook messages like this, which is greeting, enter, enter, message, 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 enter, enter, greeting, name. So I guess when I was in Facebook, I was still in my pretentious letter writing phase, though on Facebook. Whoopsie. And there are so many messages of these. And it's not shocking that Facebook has those. If you go on Facebook and you're like, oh, I wonder what I wrote about with my friend from 10 years ago, and you open the conversation, you would be disappointed if you open it up and it says, sorry, lost it. But the data is still there, and Facebook never promised end-to-end encryption, so they can just send it to you.
And they do, which is good.
And they do, which is great. Cool. One thing that was a little more worrying is that seemingly Facebook does this thing that every morning it does send an authorization token to an app if you have Facebook installed on your mobile, which is okay. But then seemingly the device sends back its IP address and location. And this is especially worrying because this was during a time where I did not open the Facebook app at all. I had actually forgotten that it was installed. I had to install it for something on a holiday, completely forgot that it was on my phone. I looked at my data set and was like, why does Facebook know where I was for like the last 2 years? And the data set is this table. I cut out some of the data here. But you have a timestamp, so it's 8 in the morning here. You have a city that is associated to it, Dossenheim, where I live. Then you have device information that is that, for example, tells you the mobile carrier, the IP address, and then it just says session updated. Which, for example, if you take the cities and you plot them, this is a plot which is in 2023. It starts early May and goes till end of June. And the upwards dimension just means that it's new places. So here down in turquoise, you see Dossenheim. And this is very clearly when I was at home. That is just in the Facebook data. Then we have something in purple here, which is London. So seemingly, there was a holiday in London. Well, where did we fly from? Obviously Frankfurt, because there's Wiesbaden and Frankfurt just before and after these particular pings. And then there is this long list of places that seemingly become more Austrian and then Hungarian the further you go into it, which, if you plot it on a map, just happens to be along the Danube and was a bike tour that we did. And every single city that is in this list perfectly corresponds to the place where we booked a hotel to stay in that particular night. So that's, of course, a great feature for people who tend to forget where they went on holidays. But it was fun to see that it is so easy and so direct. And, you know, that was fun to see. That was an unexpected thing. I did uninstall Facebook, the Facebook app from my phone after that. And then there is this other thing that you can switch it off, but if you don't, by standard, it's of course enabled. Every big company, that is true for Meta, Google, also TikTok, they have files that are called off, and then, for example, TikTok activity. And they contain information, what you do when you're not on this particular app. And for Meta, this wasn't there wasn't that much in me, so we will now switch to TikTok and look at my off TikTok activity file, which has 995 rows. And one thing that's, like, you see, like that's Booking, Spotify, that's Etsy, and for example, if I just take out Uber, you see that it not only logs when I launch the Uber app, but on the 10th of May here, on the 10th of May here, you see that there is an event that is called Trip Complete. So for some reason, TikTok knows that I have booked an Uber ride on this particular date. I cross-checked it with the Uber app. It's perfectly correct. It is absolutely correct. And that's not something that Uber knows. That's something that TikTok knows, which is especially surprising because at this point, TikTok was not even installed on my phone. This is something, they set up a connection, I guess, and then all of these apps seem to send the data to some data broker, maybe. I don't know, I have no idea about the mechanism, but in the end, TikTok knows these 995 events. For example, a really exact list of when I opened Spotify. It's just a fact of life. Cool. For maybe something more lighthearted, how about we switch over and see, how your dating life was?
Yeah, sure. The agent is done and it generated a nice report, called it the Hinge GDPR Data Personal Insights Report, and gives a nice overview at the start.
Actually want to have a look at it as well, okay. This, by the way, is why we have this two setup thing, so that we can check before we show you. It's just a little safety measure.
It says, okay, report analyze my personal Hinge data, blah, 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 blah. 182 likes sent, 87 matches, okay, blah, blah, blah. It also answered my research question.
You just switched over the 11 real-life meetings out of 180 apps.
Yeah, like they also track this. So
I hate to point that out.
You get asked if you met this person actually or not, and then if you enter yes, I've met this person. So of course they also have this information. And the agent plotted a quite nice plot and tells me, okay, I'm most active on chat messaging at 9 p.m. and I'm not messaging anybody during the night, which is also good. And same for the likes. So my peak time for liking other people is apparently 11 a.m. Fine, cool.
No, that's good information about you that I'm happy to have.
And it also generated a heat map, which is nice, and which is particularly nice because I did not actually ask it to do this plot in
Do I-
in detail, but like it came up with like a heat map is nice. Okay,
So
apparently-
Thursday 9 p.m. is your
yeah, that's
is peak.
peak time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, and then it also find out I had a 19.2% match rate. So out of my likes, 19.2% of likes ended up in the match, which is cool.
Yeah, congrats.
And now we come back to this comment situation. So does adding a comment actually help? And apparently, no.
Okay,
So I should stop writing comments.
sure.
So I think this is the biggest takeaway from this
Yeah, cool.
talk. Don't write comment on Hinged.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, obviously, the main point here is we have not looked at this while it ran. It is super nice. You can. You asked Claude Code. You just gave it access and asked it when you moved to Berlin. It came back with a perfect date. I asked it where did I live during my life. It reconstructed all the 3 addresses perfectly, including the dates when I moved. So
So AI makes it really easy to analyze
Yeah.
this data. And I did this showcase multiple times. It was every time correct. And I also checked like this data is correct. And it did it 100% correct every time, which is nice.
okay, cool.
So now maybe not just the dating life, but like entire life is also cool, isn't it? So
Yeah, entire life is so cool.
yeah, let's look at the entire life now.
So for the following slide, let's just show first this. This is the plot that you know from before, now with colors. This is the entirety of the data that I got about myself. And you see now, confusingly in red, you have on this intense purple, you have not purple, pink. You have this Facebook here. Then here Spotify comes up quite a lot, quite heavily. And then you have some peaks here, which are from Komoot. Of course, if you use running apps or hiking apps or anything like this, there's a lot of timestamps and GPS data in there. So that's not that surprising to a degree. And then you can see all the other data that is in there. There's UPS in there, all kinds of stuff. Okay. And let's pick out one particular date. And for this particular, I just went for the 22nd of September, 2025. This is a date for which I have a little more data. This is not a date for which I have the most data, or that, you know, I didn't optimize. I just looked at a few dates and I was like, oh, this one has comparably much. But this is not cherry-picked. This is comparably representative. And to explain this slide a little bit, we have a timeline up here that starts at 6 p.m. and goes till midnight. And every single small, I don't know what form this is, let's call them items. Every single item is for a timestamp for something that happened, that was logged on that particular day. And the day starts before I even woke up at 1 a.m. With Gmail installing an update. And just for good measure, it also logs that the device is a Samsung, and I'm currently using O2. Then we have the morning Facebook ping that at this time was active, which again confirms that I'm using this particular Samsung device. And does it work on here? No, I have to go here. That I'm still on the Samsung device, and I also have an Android 14, and it's set to German, and I'm currently using Medion Mobile. Just nice to know. Then a half an hour later, just because the first ping didn't really, seemingly satisfied it, it just quickly logged all of my device details. This is a lot of stuff like, am I using it in widescreen mode or in upwards mode? Which version I'm using of the app, of Android, of everything. And for some reason that I have 25.4 gigabytes of free storage, which is nice to know. At 7:17, finally, we have the first interaction of actually me actually doing something, which is I watched some YouTube for waking up, and then did some
really nice wake-up routine.
Yeah, I know. Don't judge me. To then Google real estate in the place where I live. I don't know. Don't you do that when you have coffee? I don't know. Facebook, at this point, checks back in just to make sure and to confirm that I now have 52 megabytes less free storage on my device. Cool, thanks. I then continue my day with completely connected searches like O2 Surftown Munich and Unterföhring. And then I researched some Karlsruhe marathon results. That's so interesting. Will this show up? Yeah, because just afterwards my partner added Edeka Karlsruhe to Splitwise. Does that mean that we were in Karlsruhe for a marathon? I mean, I did search how many marathons in a year directly after that, and just went into this kind of running rabbit hole. And if you look it up, the Karlsruhe Marathon was the day before, and I did do it. So like that was, I was seemingly very high on this information. Then we have some work-related stuff, and then my Spotify session starts. That's the long thing that is all the way up there. This long thing that goes from here to here, one connected Spotify session from 11 till 5 p.m., which is completely on Windows and completely connected to the same IP, which means that I was at home. This very clearly confirms that I was at home for the entire time. I then confirmed one LinkedIn contact. Cool. I did some searches on how to add constructors in Eclipse, some more work-related search queries. There was Hotel Karlsruhe was added on Splitwise to just make it really clear that we actually were in Karlsruhe. And then we are already around midday time, where TikTok knows that I've opened Spotify. Nice. I did it again 20 minutes later, researched some stuff around Spotify, then did a Google search, an image search for a fish called common Nase, which is a cool fish. I recommend looking it up. It does exist. Did more stuff that is tied to coding. And then at 5 p.m., Facebook was like, I wonder how much free storage Dennis has. 9 megabytes less is the answer. So cool to check. So cool of them to check in from time to time. I then Googled electric toothbrushes and bought one. And then at 5:30, something really interesting happens, which is that Spotify switches to an IPv6 address and to an Android device, which meant that I probably left my home. Well, what did I discover on the place? Because at 6 p.m. you can see on Spotify that I switched back to the home IP address, so I did arrive back home, so I was away for about half an hour. And in between, I did some searches for a bitter melon. I don't know if you have seen a bitter melon. It looks freaky. It's a freaky kind of vegetable, and seemingly I discovered it on my certain excursion. Maybe I went shopping, I don't know, but it did keep me up. I did some Google Lens and Reddit searches for bitter melon. Then later researched, can you eat a bitter melon raw? Which you can, but it doesn't taste great. It's not poisonous. I also opened Spotify, which TikTok knows. I opened Spotify again. I started a language learning session on Bubble. I now have 500 megabytes less free storage. Oh, wow, nice to know. Watched some Melbourne-based comedy group on YouTube. Had some intense Spotify listening. Did some stuff. Then at 10, I requested the data from this talk, for this talk from Amazon, which is nice. I then went into a German-style 9-pin bowling rabbit hole, which, because there was seemingly a YouTube video was randomly suggested to me, which led to Google searches into rules, matches, and local teams in German-style 9-pin bowling, which is exactly how my brain works. I then checked Die Zeit's privacy policy and did multiple and downloaded multiple takeout archives. So if you look at all of this, firstly, that absolutely sounds like me. That is 100% a day like I have days. And secondly, that is I looked back at my calendar. I don't have anything in my calendar on that day. And that is a really perfect reconstruction of that day. And, I then was like, let's have a little more adrenaline. And just to finish it off, I just asked Claude Code to find a creepy detail about me. And it did say that I did 16 full playbacks of the same talk, which is a talk that I myself gave.
However, Google doesn't know if you played it to the fully or if you just played the first 5 minutes.
Which is so fair, but one of the playbacks was at 2:03 a.m. on the 30th of December 2017. And in total, I watched 64 videos which have my own name in it, which is such a great find.
So self-centered.
I know, that's not normal. Okay. Well, I don't know. How about you finish us off?
Yeah, sure. So what should you take away from this talk? You should take away that there is more data on the internet than you probably remember. And it includes all the Facebook messages you have wrote, all the YouTube comments you have wrote. All of this is out there. And using this data, you can create somewhat intricate profile of yourself, which is utterly correct and is a little bit scary, but of course somewhat normal. However, the one thing I really encourage you to do is to go to Google Takeout, for example, and request your data. Look into the data, maybe going down memory lane, maybe look at what Facebook or YouTube comments you have written in your life when you were 14. And really use the GDPR as the basic important right it is to get back the control to your data. Thank you.
And then in the end, you might find out how self-centered you are.
Yeah, exactly. And then find out how self-centered you are. And this is Dennis. I'm Gregor. We are both from TNG Technology Consulting. Thank you for listening to the talk. And I think we have some more time for questions.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much for this very entertaining and honest talk. Thank you.
A little bit embarrassing as well, right?
I wasn't going to say that. So, are there any questions in the room? Because we have 2 microphones, and you can just raise your hand, and if yes.
Hey, thank you. What was, besides the creepy things, maybe something really scary you found in your data? Something you wouldn't have thought, besides maybe the off-TikTok activity without TikTok being installed on the phone? Similar stuff like that, where you get really scared?
So one thing which was a little scary is that, for example, on Instagram, they give you like markers. You are marked for your advertisement. You were in the holidays in the last 3 weeks. Then you get like a marker, okay, you were on holidays in the last 3 weeks. This is somewhat creepy, but also somewhat expected because they have this data. They see your IP address. If you logged in Australia, for example, and then back in Germany, then they know you've probably been to vacation there.
And what really surprised me was that Google Chrome just gives you your entire browser history if you log into Google Chrome, because then and you allow the browser history to be shared between devices, which of course is expected. If you want your browser history to be shared between devices, they should have the browser history. But it also means that they just on some server somewhere have your full browser history.
I just recently bought a new phone and there is TikTok pre-installed. Is this all true only when you create an account or when you open the app? Or is because I don't have a TikTok, I don't have Instagram, but if it's pre-installed and they automatically share whatever data you have no control of, then that would be very, very worrying.
We don't know. I did have an account. And you need an account to request your data, unfortunately. And it's kind of hard to request your data when you're like, yeah, but I don't have an account. So I don't know. My suspicion and hope would be that no. But of course, we can't really tell. And there are certain things that can track you even if you're not logged in. That does exist.
Here's another question.
Yeah, thanks for the great results. Kind of scary, but the right to get the data is the one thing. The others, have you tried to say erase data, to say, I don't know, that doesn't feel good to have anything back from 2014?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Now, how realistic is that those companies will really apply to it?
So companies are allowed to keep data if they have like a high interest in keeping the data. For example, if they disallow you from using their platform, if you're banned at the platform, then they're allowed to keep the data that you are banned from the platform. And this is somewhat like ambiguous, and I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you. And we did not try deleting the data for those companies, but I think that they would comply to a certain extent.
I mean, the bigger the company, the more likely it is for them to comply, I would say. And the more in the EU, I would say that Spotify probably will comply. And also, I mean, out of all the data sets, the Spotify data set was 100% the data set where I was like, yes, that actually looks like a complete data set. At the same time, I requested my Reddit data, and they sent me something, and then I looked into it, and I was like, you cannot infer any interests out of the data you sent me. You must have more. And then they were like, OK, here's the second file.
Here first. Maybe you, Marie? Yes, thank you.
So the data that you downloaded was mostly about everything that you explicitly posted, or also the drafts? For example, sometimes we think of posting something or writing, and then we either keep it for some minutes or we just delete it. And it eventually never shows on the profile. And of course, we forget that we ever thought of writing or posting something. Did you also find that kind of data?
I would expect it's there.
So if they save it, then it should be there, but I did not look especially in this kind of data if it's there. So, but I expect it to be there. Yeah. For example, if you can also request your Google Drive stuff, and if you create a document on this and then start a draft there, then probably this should be there as well. Yeah.
I think the thing is that I don't know, let's take Instagram. The photos that you put publicly on Instagram are not really the worrying thing. There's, a lot of the data that we got was data that was logged along with it, and then you can infer some behavior or some how you are from that data, and that's the actual thing. That's the data gold mine to a degree, but drafts are for sure saved. If they are saved, at some point they at least leave a log message that you did save it. Maybe not with the image itself.
Let's have two more questions, one from here and one from there.
Yes, I'm thinking about doing something similar by myself. How much time did you spend into requesting all the data and into pre-processing and analyzing?
Like requesting, you do it like on the fly. We selected, like we first made a list of all the components you want to request, and then did like when we are in the train or something like this, did some requests, and then pre-processing we mostly did with AI. So this was rather quick.
Yeah, without AI, this talk would not have been possible. We did so much of it. Yeah, it's not that it does not take a significant amount of time. It's just that answering the same email over and over again, and then keeping track that the company actually answered, and then writing if they didn't answer, and we're like, oh wow, you did not answer, you just ignored it. Like, that is such mind-numbing work that for sure you can also automatize with some AI, but we didn't.
So I would say in a weekend you have something there when you already got the data. You have a really cool overview over your data in one weekend.
Okay, there's no more question. So maybe one last question from myself. You said that you deleted your Facebook app. So what else did you do after like all the infos that you found out about yourself?
So I disallowed Instagram to have personalized advertisement because of this thing with I was on holidays in the last 3 weeks. I stopped having personalized ad on Instagram, and the apps, the advertisements got way worse now.
This talk has done me a disservice, because every time I enter something in Google now that is slightly sensitive, I'm like, yeah, cool. And in a talk in a year, I can use this. And I don't know if I like that.
All right. Thank you very much for your talk, for your time. I guess you will stick around. So if if you want to have a discussion, have questions that haven't been answered, just come here, and they will have time for you. And I wish you a pleasant day, and see you around.